everyone, it's Froggy, and today we've got Jihae's ending review. So, you've seen pretty much how to get to his good ending, and do make sure that you have some hearts with Jian as well, because Jian is very important to him. But, after the last CG that we watched, after that would be the CG where, the cutscene, sorry, where Jihae gets to meet the wizard, and he finds out he's going to win the game, but he says that he wants to change his wish. And his wish was to bring his first love back from the dead and be with her. But he's decided that he wants to change his wish to being in this world with the heroine. And the wizard laughs and goes, nah, I'm not gonna grant your new wish. I'm just gonna grant your old one. Too bad. And then sends him on his way. And after that, we get another cutscene where Jihae meets Heejung at school and basically just hugs her. That's it. Like, I'm assuming this must have been just after his visit with the wizard, but he just hugs her pretty much, and she's not entirely sure what's going on, but she's like, there, it's okay. And he says he quit his job, and she was like, oh, I thought you weren't gonna do that, but you know what, it's okay, and like pats his back, and then that's it. It's a very short cutscene, but it's very sweet. The next cutscene afterwards, Heejung wakes up and catches the animals with their luggage by the door and asks, well, what's going on? And they all say, well, we're moving out. And she was confused as to why, but they said, well, we can't just crash here forever, so Jian and Jisoo are gonna go live with some nice rich lady, and Jiwoo doesn't want to say where he's going, but he says he's got a place for himself, and he's going to become a writer. And then they leave. And she feels sad, and then she starts, like, looking around her house, kind of, being like, oh, it looks so empty, and then realizes, hey, it's empty, like, where is Jihae and Jian's stuff? And she freaks out. She's like, why aren't they here? Where did they go? Why would they leave without saying anything? And Jihae calls her, and she's like, oh, well, is Jian with you? Why did you take your stuff? Like, what's going on? And he's just like, we need to Jian is with me and we need to talk. So she goes downstairs, meets him, and they go to a cafe. And he says he needs to leave. He's leaving her. He doesn't want to see her anymore. He can't stay by her side. And he feels really upset about it. And she is really upset, obviously, and grabs his arm before he tries to leave and says, please don't leave me, I don't want you to go. And he says, I have to go. This is for you. This is for your benefit. It'll just do you so much better if you forget about me completely. And then he leaves. And she starts crying into her cup of coffee. And he says, before he leaves, he says, don't wish to see me. Something like that. Anyway, so she cries into her cup of coffee, and then the next cutscene is her with the wizard. And she does not like this guy. She thinks he's creepy, of course, because he is creepy. And he's just like, what do you wish for? And she doesn't want to tell him, but something goes into her head and forces her to say what it is that she wants. And of course, her wish is to be with Jihae. And the wizard's pissed off. He's like, I didn't think that you were gonna fall in love with this guy as much as you did. Like, I've never seen you this in love with anyone before. And he was like, fine, I'm gonna grant your wish. I'm not happy about it, but I'll grant your wish. You're gonna see him tomorrow morning. And she's like, what? And he's like, but this is gonna cost you your memories. And then just kind of like shoves her out. And she's just really confused. But she wakes up the next day and she's got a splitting headache. And she's like, oh, well, I should probably head to school. And she goes and checks a cell phone that she doesn't recognize that's on her coffee table. And when she opens it, she realizes what date it is. And she's like, well, that can't be right. This phone must be wrong. Because she thinks it's before she met the animals. And then her door, like, bangs open, and she's like, who is that? Who's in my house? And he comes upstairs, and of course, she's like, wow, I can't ask him that because he's just gorgeous. And he's just like, my lady. And she's like, who are you? And then we realize, you know, of course, that she's forgotten everything. And he's, like, out of breath because he ran there, and he's just like, I'm so happy I got to see you. And then it kind of cuts forward, and she's talking to him, and she's like, oh, well, I heard a few months back you were, like, a really popular model, and is that true? And he's like, yeah, I was a popular model. And she's like, wow. And then they start she's just like, I can't believe someone so beautiful would want to be with me. And she thinks that the only reason why he's there is because he was with her when her memories disappeared, and that he's only staying out of obligation. And he's like, no, I'm here because I want to be here. I want to be with you. And then he asks her, if you could make a wish right now, what would you wish for? And she says, well, I want to be, you know, an artist. I want to be good at my craft and taken seriously. And he's like, okay. And she's like, well, what about you? And he's like, you've already made my wish come true. And she was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And if ever you decide that you want to wish for something in the future, don't ever want it so badly that you might see the wizard, because he is looking to get to you. And she's like, what wizard? What are you talking about? And he's like, don't worry, never mind. And then that's it. It ends pretty much right there. So it's an interesting one. Oh, and he cut his hair, by the way. He doesn't have the super long silver strands anymore. He cut it. And I think he looks way hotter with the short hair. Just saying. But yeah, so I don't really like Jihae very much. Like, I think his story is really sad. Like, his backstory that we found out is really depressing, and I feel really bad for him, and I hate that he hates himself, because he is a really good dude. And, like, there are certain things about him that I like, but of the characters, I think he's probably one of my least favorites, if not my absolute least favorite of the characters from this game. Just because I find him kind of boring, and I also don't really like the knight in shining armor types, and I don't like the pretty boys so much. I don't know. He's just really not my type. But, like, the ending is nice. I'm glad that they were together. It's one of the few where she actually gets to be with the guy she wants to be. So, it's really nice that they're together. That makes me happy. So let's start talking about the bad ending now. So, in order to get the bad ending, you want to make sure that you basically just ignore Jian. Still, you know, talk to Jihae and everything, get your hearts up with him, and raise your beauty and all that stuff, but just completely ignore Jian as much as possible. And on January 26th, you're gonna get the call from Jihae's manager, or not from his manager, but from the agency wanting that you to be his manager, and if you're on the right track, you're going to accept the job offer. So basically they say they'll pay for your tuition in order for you to do this, and you're like, yeah, that sounds like there's nothing to lose here. So you become Jihae's manager, and you're excited because that means that you get to spend a lot more time with him and all of that, and you're doing a good job. But eventually, Jihae's fans start getting to you, and they do not like you. And when they find out that you're his manager, oh boy, they start being everywhere. You'll just hear, like, them talking about you behind their back. And as it progresses into spring, it escalates. So eventually they'll trip you and force you to fall on your face and really hurt yourself. And then in the very last cutscene, they find you in a crowded area and they cut your hair, and you start freaking out, like, oh my god, someone cut my hair, I'm scared, they're attacking me physically now, like, freaking out. And some other girl that you don't know comes up and says, oh, well, I'll take you home. And Jihae's really reluctant because he's supposed to go to this big, huge interview to be on TV, and he wants to take her home. He's like, you're more important, but Heejung pushes it like, I can't let you give up this, you need to go, and she'll take me home. So she goes home with this girl because she recognizes this girl from her class. She was in the same school, they were in the same business course, they were in the same class. She sat in front of her. She remembers her. And on their way back to Heejung's place, the girl stops and says, it must be really nice for you to have Jihae all to yourself. And Heejung's like, what? You know him? And then she gives you like this intimidating look and backs you into an alleyway where you're attacked by more of Jihae's fangirls. And somehow you manage to get home and you're in your pajamas, and Jihae comes in and he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And you freak out. You can't hear anything he's saying. You are absolutely terrified. You're shaking. You feel like you're being watched. You're just completely terrified. And he says, like, I can't do this to you anymore. I feel absolutely awful. I can't be with you anymore. This is the best thing I can do for you. You'll never see me again. And then it ends. It's a horrifying, bad ending, being attacked like that, having your hair cut in public. Like, it's terrifying. And I don't understand how, like, these fangirls can get so crazed and don't want any girls near the person that they're fangirling over. It's terrifying. It's awful. Anyway, so I liked the good ending. It was alright. I didn't particularly care for his route, and I don't like his bad ending at all, obviously. So I've got to say that this one's honestly just not a win for me. But that's just my thoughts. Why don't you tell me in the comments below what your thoughts are? I'd love to hear them. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to see more videos from me, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.